Here's what's happening on the right. Young women, I talk to young conservative women all the time about their lives and their goals and, the things that they want. And what's happening is they can't find men who are maybe more conservative. Usually they're looking for somebody who is religious, like a lot of conservative women tend to be God-loving conservatives. And they can't find a lot of young men who want to marry a working woman now. And this is an actual problem that's coming up on the right. And to me, it's so sad because it's like, how did we get to the point where we're now telling young, conservative, amazing women that they're not attractive if they also work, if they choose to, let's say, do what I'm doing and what you're doing and like get their voice out there. But I'll stick with me just because I think conservatives listening to this will like the thought of another Megyn Kelly voice up and coming. Well, why wouldn't we want that? Why would we take somebody who's talented in this field and really wants to make a difference and have the messaging to her be, you're really not that valuable unless you give it up and go into the home and only have a family and only raise a family. And not only are we sending her that message, but young men are actually believing that. They're actually believing it, especially on the right, because like the trad mom has gotten so popular. And it's like, no, if we do that, we're not going to have any strong conservative or right-leaning women to provide a role model for younger conservative women who, and there's nothing to apologize for here, don't necessarily want to spend all their 20s and their 30s getting married and having kids, or can't. They just weren't able to meet somebody and definitely don't need to be shamed over it.
Here's what Megyn Kelly's saying. She's saying that young conservative working women are having problems finding young conservative men that want to marry them because conservative men no longer find working conservative women attractive. Instead, it's the trad mom, the stay-at-home mom, who they are finding more attractive. And she's saying that this is a natural problem on the right now. She also made a couple of observations and comments that I want to quickly address.
A lot of conservative women tend to be God-loving conservatives.
She said a lot of conservative women tend to be God-loving conservatives. Not true. A lot of conservative women are not God-loving conservatives. First, how can they be God-loving conservative women if they are voting for a political conservative party instead of a Christian political party? It's not a secret that the Conservative Party agrees with the majority of left political policies. For example, abortion, homosexual marriages. You can't even tell the difference between the both of them anymore. I mean, how can they be God-loving women if they are prioritizing feminism over God? To prioritize a career over your most fertile years is to prioritize feminism over God. The average age of marriage for women is around 31 in England and I think 32 in America. The age of high-risk pregnancy is 35. This means conservative women are choosing a job over marriage and family creation, which means they are choosing feminism over God. Men don't want to marry old women who can't give them more than 2 children. And how many of these conservative women end up being virgins before marriage at the age of 32? Huh? I mean, how many women are really going to be able to resist sexual temptation during the youngest, most fertile, most attractive years if they are choosing to pursue a higher education and a career over marriage? Which means again that working conservative women are choosing feminism over God. And what are the consequences? What are the consequences of pursuing a career, getting married at 32, and voting for a conservative political party? I'll tell you what the consequences are. The consequences are lower birth rates, increasing promiscuity, and making the economy more expensive. That's the consequences. So when she says that conservative working women love God, she's lying. They don't.
How did we get to the point where we're now telling young, conservative, amazing women that they're not attractive if they also work? Well, why wouldn't we want that? Why would we take somebody who's talented in this field and really wants to make a difference and have the messaging to her be, you're really not that valuable unless you give it up and go into the home and only have a family and only raise a family.
She just doesn't get it, does she? She just doesn't get it. Because men and women are different, Megan. Believe it or not, Megan, men and women are biologically and psychologically different. We have different sexual organs. Men have higher bone mass density, different heights. There's a reason why a man is stronger than a woman, why a man's voice is deeper than a woman's. There's a reason why a woman can give birth and a man can't, and why a woman is more emotional than a man. It's because we are different, Megan. And also because men and women were put on earth to procreate, Megan. Men and women were put on earth to have families, to raise the next generation, not to indulge in some egotistical, selfish, individualistic sense of importance. How are we going to have children if the average woman is getting married at 32 and high-risk pregnancy starts at 35? How are we going to raise a family if both parents are working? We would have to outsource the children to daycare, which most people are starting to do now. How are we going to have a balanced life if both the mother and the father are at work? Men are not attracted to working women, Megan. Why would we find a woman who works attractive? What's attractive about a woman doing the role of a man when she could be raising the children and taking care of the home? The reason why Megyn Kelly is so out of touch with reality and why she's clearly suffering from cognitive dissonance is because she's a feminist. Only a feminist ignores the biological and psychological differences between men and women and pretends they are equal. Unfortunately, we are seeing a lot of so-called traditionally conservative women on the right with views like Megyn Kelly. Why? Well, because it's hard to tell the difference between the political left and the political right anymore. For the most part, both political parties believe in the same murderous, promiscuous, degenerate policies like abortion, same-sex marriage, etc. And just like it's hard to tell the difference between the left and the right, it's also difficult to tell who's on the left and who's on the right, since they both sound very similar. So what's the solution? Stop calling yourself Christians when you believe in feminism. Stop calling yourselves Christians when you follow a political party that is anti-Christian. The conservative political party does not represent Christian values. Why would any man find a feminist working woman attractive? Only a feminist would believe that. Anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the reaction. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys next time, all right? Peace.